Vivienne Malone Mays, black mathematician, born 1932, died 1995. Vivienne Malone Mays, the fifth African American woman to earn a doctoral degree in mathematics, spent much of her life struggling to create new opportunities for both blacks and women in the often insular world of mathematics. Despite opposition that ran through much of her career, she achieved a standing in the mathematics community that led to acceptance by institutions that initially barred her on the basis of her race. May said later in her life, like many early African American trailblazers, she held herself to high standards because she knew that white colleagues and administrators of the era would judge other blacks by her performance. Her field of research was asymptotic analysis and summability theory. Mays was born in Waco, Texas, on February 10, 1932. She attended the segregated A. J. Moore High School in Waco, graduating when she was only 16. She continued her education at Fisk University in Nashville, one of the finest African American universities of the day. There she earned a bachelor's degree in 1952 and a master's degree in 1954. One of Mays's professors at Fisk was Evelyn Boyd Granville, one of the first two African American women to receive a mathematics doctorate. Granville's teaching and encouragement inspired Mays to pursue her master's degree and later proved crucial in her long, lonely struggle to earn a doctorate. Quote, I believe it was her presence and influence that account for my pursuit of advanced degrees in mathematics, unquote, Mays wrote later of Granville. From Fisk, Mays returned home to Waco to chair the mathematics department at Paul Quinn College, an African Methodist Episcopal Church school. By 1961, she felt that she needed more challenges to continue her development as a mathematician, so she decided to apply to Baylor University in Waco to take a few mathematics classes. Baylor's response to her application was humiliating. They sent her a letter outlining their policy of not accepting African American students, a letter she kept for many years afterward. But Baylor's rejection was in some sense fortunate. That university did not offer doctorates in mathematics, and if she had attended Baylor, she most likely would have taken only a few courses and then returned to work. Instead, in 1962, Mays went to the University of Texas, which had been recently integrated by federal law and did offer a doctoral program in mathematics. Graduate school proved a long, lonely road for Mays. Many students find doctoral programs isolating. But for Mays, the only black and the only woman in the department, the isolation was profound. Despite her teaching background, she was denied the income of a teaching assistantship. Classmates largely ignored her, and some would abruptly end their conversations when she approached. One professor openly forbid her from enrolling in his course because of her race. Quote, I cannot join my advisor and other classmates to discuss mathematics over coffee at Hillsburg Cafe, unquote, she said, because that establishment did not serve African Americans. The closest she ever came to these discussions were overhead snatches of conversation as she and other African Americans picketed the restaurant. In an article in the Association for Women in Mathematics newsletter, Mays later wrote, quote, it took a faith in scholarship almost beyond measure to endure the stress of earning a PhD as a black female graduate student, unquote. Even colleagues who were friendly to her goals often did not understand her struggle. One professor, complaining about a civil rights demonstration, said that there would not be race problems if the demonstrators were as hardworking and studious as Mays. She answered him, quote, if it hadn't been for those hellraisers out there, you wouldn't even know me, unquote. Church proved one of Mays's few refuges. In 1960, she had become organist and director of the youth choir at New Hope Baptist Church. She would serve in this capacity until 1975. Despite the isolation, the rigors of study, and the time required by her involvement in church and the civil rights movement, Mays succeeded as a mathematician. In 1966, she became the second African American and the first African American woman to earn a mathematics doctorate at the University of Texas. Her dissertation was entitled "A Structure Problem in Asymptotic Analysis." Unquote. In that same year came one of the most unexpected twists in Mays's career. Under pressure from the federal government, Baylor was now not only accepting black students, it was ready to hire Mays in a tenured track professorship. Mays would teach at Baylor for 28 years. There she published a number of mathematics papers and began experimenting with using audiovisual techniques to teach pre-calculus, a subject on which she also published. But Mays felt that her Baylor years were not completely free of prejudice. Through much of her career, federal investigators kept a close eye on the school's hiring and promotion practices, with the aim of ensuring fair treatment for minority scholars. During this period, Mays felt that she was treated fairly by the university. Beginning in the 1980s, however, the federal government cut funding for such inspections, and Mays said that she noted a significant shift in administrators' attitudes. By 1971, Baylor was named Outstanding Faculty Member of the Year by the Baylor Student Congress. She was the first African American to serve on the Association for Women in Mathematics Executive Committee, and she also served on the board of directors for the National Association of Mathematics, an organization for black mathematicians. In 1985, the Women's Issue Forum of the Young Women's Christian Association presented her with one of its Pathfinder Awards. Mays retired from Baylor in 1994 because of her poor health. She died on June 9, 1995, survived by daughter Patsy Mays Wheeler. Friends attributed her early death in part to the stress of the prejudice she faced during her life. Indeed, she herself felt that her path-breaking status and the fact that people would judge all African Americans based on her performance placed a great burden on her. Quote, "When I made a low grade, I felt I'd let down 11 million people," unquote, she said. Quote, "You felt like you had no choice but to excel," unquote. Citations are in the description.